Thanksgiving. While not a major holiday brought into the masses around the colder months like Halloween and especially Christmas, it's a celebration where we gather together as a family and celebrate everything that we're thankful for. As a kid, I would always look forward to staying at home and seeing some of the Thanksgiving specials that would air every year. Nickelodeon had the Nicktoons marathons of watching nothing but cartoons all day long, which is still going on today. While we have on demand and episodes readily available a day or two after they aired on TV, back then when the internet was brand new and the only way to record was via VCR to cassette tape, it was an exciting time to watch cartoons while your family prepares a Thanksgiving dinner. So back in fall 2012, when I was looking up a list of all the Nickelodeon Thanksgiving specials to watch again for the Nickelodeon tribute, there were a handful of people talking about a particular Nickelodeon Thanksgiving special on forums and nostalgic websites like RetroJunk that no one seemed to recall on what it was. In fact, most people had never heard of it, including myself. When digging a little bit deeper on it, I found the commercial of it online and found the name. It was called Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest.
Hey, you, come here. Feast your eyes upon this triple top-secret tape I got of Nickelodeon working on this year's outrageously out-of-control cartoon Thanksgiving special. There'll be dough monsters, talking turkeys, dancing carrots, and the dumbest mices and bugses you ever seen. Them's my favorite. It's a cartoon feast you won't see anywhere else at Nick's Thanksgiving Fest.
I did a review on it on November of that year, and then focused on doing my top 5 Nickelodeon Thanksgiving specials. But there was something about that special that didn't leave my mind after watching it. It had this unique charm to it that none of the Nickelodeon shows had, or even since then. I wanted to know more about its history. Why did it fade into obscurity by Nickelodeon fans, by the exception of the hardcore fans who watched it when it first aired? Why didn't people discuss about it? Well, maybe I won't be able to answer every question in intricate detail, but to the best of my abilities, I'll tell you the answer to today's topic. Why Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest was historically significant to the channel itself. Well then, grab yourself a slice of pie, sit back and relax as we go back into the year 1989. Around that time, Nickelodeon was becoming a massive hit for both kids and adults. Because of programs such as Double Dare, You Can't Do That on Television, Danger Mouse, and Count Duckula, Nickelodeon tried to see if they were able to create their own original creator-driven cartoons. Herb Scannell, the vice president of Nickelodeon programming at the time, hired Vanessa Coffey, who was working on shows such as Jim Henson's Muppet Babies and the first 5 episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to produce the special alongside with a small group of artists and animators as an independent contract. The special consisted of 2 segments and a few shorts that aired in between. The first segment, titled Thanksgiving Nightmare, features a family eating a nice Thanksgiving meal. When leaving to go out for an evening walk, a group of mice and a group of cockroaches were fighting against to see who would get the Thanksgiving leftovers.
I'm telling yous guys, every Thanksgiving it's the same thing. There I was, minding me own business, when who should I bump into but one of them garbage-picking roaches. And you know what he does to me?
No, what?
He cocks me on the head and steals me share of the Thanksgiving victuals. Now, I don't know about yous guys, but I'm fed up with this kind of treatment every year. There's only room for 1 pack of vermin in this dump, and that's us. Yeah. Fellow roaches, it will be a whole year before we see another Thanksgiving dinner. And the only thing between us and starvation are those thieving mice. They mean to separate us from the turkey, the potatoes, the candied yams. Comrade insects, how much longer will we allow our life's blood to be snatched away and devoured by those undersized rats?
He didn't say anything about the stuffing.
The pink giants have gone out for a walk. Our only chance is now. Are you with me?
However, the family cat prevented them from getting the food. They decided to distract the cat while trying to get a hold of the food. But a massive food fight occurs, and then eventually they start working together on taking the cat down so it'll get the blame. The second segment, titled Thanksgiving Dreams, is about two kids named Sam and Emily growing up during the Great Depression. They're worried about not getting a real Thanksgiving meal after their mom starts having difficulties finding a job.
I was really hoping to have some sort of work by now, so I could make you a real Thanksgiving feast tomorrow.
Where's your dinner, Mom?
Oh, I'm not very hungry.
Mom's ready to give up her own dinner so Sam and Emily can eat. Isn't there anything to do?
There's a whole nother can of beans on the counter. You could have that.
Oh, no. That's all we have for dinner tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
But Thanksgiving's tomorrow.
Don't worry, Mom. Things will get better. Sure they will.
They then have a dream in which they shrink into an inch long and being led to a kitchen where they encounter dancing food and utensils prepping a Thanksgiving feast. However, one of the kids accidentally knocks over a box of yeast where it fell upon a bowl of dough, turning into a giant dough monster. The kids have to find a way to defeat the monster before it overtakes the kitchen and ruins the dinner. In between the segments are these shorts showcasing on Thanksgiving on numerous perspectives and how it's celebrated.
And of course, no Thanksgiving is complete without a turkey. Speaking of turkeys, look at what we have here. Our hidden camera has found one of the few lucky turkeys who have managed to avoid Thanksgiving so far. Let's try to ask him how he's managed it. Excuse me, Mr. Turkey.
When I first reviewed it back in 2012, I thought it was incredibly underwhelming with its forgettable segments, basic animation, and its ho-hum voice work. Thanksgiving Nightmare gave me a bit of a Tom and Jerry vibe.
So, just waiting for us to leave, huh? So you could steal yourself some turkey. I'm warning you, you no-good flea factory. If so much as a pea is missing when we get back, you'll be an outside alley cat forever.
Jasper? Jasper! That no-good cat. Just a minute, you good-for-nothing cheap fur coat. Now, would you just look at that mess you made. Now, understand this, Jasper. If you breaks one more thing, you is going out. O-W-T out.
Thanksgiving Dreams, for some reason, had a hazy look in their opening, making it look like that was the dream sequence, and the animation was very stilted with the lips not even moving. I take it that this was a way to build up the morbid depiction of them suffering through the Great Depression, but in my opinion, it just made it look very lazy. The scenes featuring the dancing utensils made it look like a 1940s cartoon that you would see in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Follow me, boys.
The only memorable thing about the special were the shorts that ran between the segments. They're incredibly pleasing with its colorful animation and offbeat kind of humor.
Here in the United States, we are fortunate to have many traditional holidays that are uniquely American, but none of them are quite as special as Thanksgiving. Family and friends from all over the country join together to give thanks and share in a joyful feast and watch TV.
But when rewatching it again over the years, I found it to be kind of charming for some reason. Remember, this was one of Nickelodeon's first foray into animation. It didn't develop its sense of style just yet. It was an experiment to see if they could pull off creating their own animated shows without having to acquire it from other networks or countries that they've been doing for the past decade. However, this wasn't the first time the Nickelodeon attempted of trying to create their own cartoons. In 1988, there was a cartoon that was made for Nickelodeon in hoping that it would become a brand new TV series. And that was Christmas in Tattertown, created and produced by Ralph Bakshi. Christmas in Tattertown was about a young girl named Debbie and her two dolls named Dog and Little Miss Muffet stumbling upon a mysterious book that sucks them into a town called Tattertown. It's a place that consists of broken and abandoned toys living together. When Little Miss Muffet discovers that she can move, talk, and feel emotions, she decides to run away from Debbie since she's sick of the constant hugs and changing clothes that she's used to getting in the real world. Debbie and Dog meet up with a toy named Harvey who breaks his arm while trying to fight a bodyguard, and when Debbie fixes him, she's wondering about why the toys don't celebrate Christmas. Muffet is planning on taking over Tattertown alongside with the current leader, a spider named Sydney. Debbie tries to see if she can find Little Miss Muffet to bring him back home, at the same time trying to teach the town about the true meaning of Christmas. It was originally supposed to be the starting point of a TV series consisting of 39 episodes called The Tatterton Tales, but due to very poor receptions from both critics and viewers, it was never picked up as a series. It had aired annually until the year 1992, when eventually Bakshi had purchased the rights to the pilot, and it no longer became Nickelodeon's first foray into animation. More information about my opinions are in my blog review on the description box below. Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest fared a lot better, and it had given the Nickelodeon employees the boost of confidence they needed to make 8 pilots done by young new creators who were shown potential to creating something original and unique. The first pilot was done by Joey Album, who did the shorts as well as the iconic doo-wop diner in Stitchels.
I'm here with my friends, Nickelodeon, the song and friends, Nickelodeon.
Was called Thunder Lizards. Thunder Lizards was about 3 dinosaurs who were part of a band setting off to play for a concert called Dino Fest. However, the youngest member of the group wanders into an active volcano to pull off some skateboarding tricks before the concert starts. But he gets himself into trouble and is rescued by their beatnik roadie named Tear, and ends up back in the concert in time to perform. At the time, his animation was the most well-known in Nickelodeon. In fact, I had recently gotten a hold of Joey Album on Facebook to ask him information about what his experiences were on working on Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest. This was his following response. For me, it was a long time ago. From what I remember, it was back in the days of hand inking and hand painting on cells. Also, the whole thing was shot on film on an animation camera stand, so it was a lot of work. My segments were inspired by traditional Warner Brothers cartoons. They would sometimes do a short in the style of A Trip to the Zoo, where there would be running gags, interaction between the announcer and the characters, and a payoff at the end. I think that the announcer was doing a version of Don Adams from Get Smart. The nice thing about it was that I worked with a lot of great and talented and interesting people. The drawback was very little sleep. I flew out to LA to do the final mix. It was the first time I had ever driven a car by myself. I'm a typical NYC, born and raised, meaning I had just gotten my license. I had to follow Vanessa Coffey in my rental car. When I safely reached the hotel, I felt like kissing the ground. Everyone in Nick was super supportive, including Vanessa. Unfortunately, when showing the kids the pilot, they didn't care for it. They didn't like the music, and they felt that the show felt more like for really little kids as opposed to older kids. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. It can be fully appreciated with a niche audience, which is just fine. Unfortunately, the majority of the other pilots cannot be found online. I'll give you whatever information that I was able to research on thanks to the book, Nickelodeon Nation, the history, politics, and economics of America's only TV channel for kids, edited by Heather Hendershot. The second pilot, titled Channel Zero, was based on the second well-known interstitial cartoon characters for Nickelodeon called the Big Beast Quintet, created by George Eveland of Colossal Pictures. You don't know who they are? Well, maybe this will jog your memory.
On the Lord, what give a on the Lord, what give a on the Ricky Ticket while living #1 Nickelodeon.
Channel Zero would have focused on those 5 monsters as news reporters under the supervision of a boss named Nero Zero, who had a nice mean switch on his head that could be switched on and off on the spot. The pilot was about them trying to find a Sasquatch-like creature called the Abominably Animated Man. They couldn't find it, so they report back to the station saying that they were lost. The main leader of the group, known as the Big Beast, wanders to the forest by himself trying to find the creature right before Nero Zero loses his temper. When showcasing it to a group of kids and a focus group, they found it to be unfunny, confusing, and unrelatable, since none of them had jobs as news reporters, nor did they have to deal with temperamental bosses. The third pilot, titled The Weasel Patrol, was based on a comic book series about a group of incompetent weasels who fought crime against an even more incompetent group of smugglers trying to steal top-secret chili peppers that could be used as rocket fuel. When showcasing the pilot to the kids, they found it to be incredibly convoluted and boring. It was even said that one of the kids had stated that he would rather be staring at a blank wall than watching the pilot again. The fourth and fifth pilots were done in Cosgrove Hall Productions, an animation studio in England responsible for Danger Mouse and Count Duckula, two of the most popular acquired cartoons of Nickelodeon during the 80s. The fourth pilot, titled The Crowville Chronicles, was about a crow named Clarence and a koala named Ozzy, who worked as a newspaper reporter and a photographer respectively, trying to come up with a front page spread in only 10 minutes before publishing. They found a rhino and they take a picture in front of it so they can make up a story about carrying out a rescue in the jungle. It suddenly becomes real when the rhino starts chasing after them. When showcasing it to the kids, they found it to be dull and uninteresting. The fifth pilot, titled Trash, was a stop-motion cartoon about a superhero named Crash Morgan, who lived on a planet filled with garbage called Trash Town. All of a sudden, two aliens land on the planet, accidentally, when they were originally supposed to go to another one for a vacation. An intruder alert alarm was set off, and they landed in jail. The pilot ended abruptly, saying, "To be continued, if they're lucky." The kids weren't interested in the pilot being too tedious and the characters being very formulaic. Unfortunately, it seemed like none of those pilots were pulling through. Were Nickelodeon ready to create their own cartoons? Could they continue to set the standards of good quality children's programming while putting their own style to it? The answer was yes. The last three pilots that were showcased were Doug, Rugrats, and the Ren and Stimpy Show. Each of them became a huge success and were given the approval of being made into full-fledged TV shows. These cartoons would set the standards of not only what the Nicktoons would eventually become, but it would change the animation industry forever. These three cartoons were incredibly groundbreaking and popular, breaking the conventions of what a typical cartoon was. It was no longer about promoting the latest toy, action figure, doll, celebrity, or movie. It was about creating memorable characters going through numerous situations that made people gather in the living room and watch together. It was about displaying detailed and unique animation that would take people into a different world that wasn't their own, and ignite their imaginations to create their own worlds in their minds to share with others. It was about the clever writing that made you entertained by the jokes, or gain an important life lesson that made you think that the characters were real. It's all those statements plus many, many more that made the Nicktoons memorable and why they're still remembered as timeless in people's minds today. It would jumpstart or enhance the careers of the people who worked on the special. Vanessa Coffey became Vice President of Animation, directing the three Nicktoons and Rocko's Modern Life. Joey Album has written a children's book series called Lucy the Dinosaur. He also has uploaded animation tips for aspiring artists and animators on his own YouTube channel, and he's done animation segments on Sesame Street.
Bananas are fruits that come in bunches.
Enjoy a banana, it's a very fine fruit.
People eat them at breakfast and they munch them at their lunches.
Boy, a banana is a very fine fruit.
One of the writers of the segments, Kevin Altieri, became a talented storyboard artist in shows such as Batman the Animated Series, Class of 3000, Young Justice, and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. One of the composers, Robert Walsh, would compose a ton of animated shows, movies, cartoons, and documentaries. The second composer, Peter Urle, would compose for Bear in the Big Blue House, Teacher's Pet, My Life as a Teenage Robot, and one of the catchiest opening theme songs of the 90s.
Seatbelts, everyone!
Cruising on down Main Street, you're relaxed and feeling good. Next thing that you know, you see it. Puss in the neighborhood, surfing on a sound wave, swinging through the stars. Take a left at Joey Teston, take your second right past Mars on the magic scuba. Navigate a nostril, climb on the magic scuba, spank a plankton too.
Yeah, pretty crazy, isn't it? Not to mention all of the other artists and musicians that would go on to work on the shows previously mentioned, and so much more, from Disney movies to Marvel cartoons. But that still leaves the question, why did Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest stop airing on Nickelodeon? How come it faded into mainstream obscurity? Well, unfortunately, I don't have a clear-cut answer to that. But, in my opinion, it seemed to have gotten lost in the shuffle when more Nicktoons debuted in the 90s, and eventually started having their own Thanksgiving specials. Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest had already done its job of being the stepping stone of creating their own original content, so it became less relevant and slowly stopped airing around the early to mid-90s, during Nickelodeon's golden era. Since Nickelodeon was becoming massive around that time, most people didn't see Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest when it first aired. In fact, this video could be the first time you probably even heard of it. But to those who did watch it, it gained an underground following on forums and websites dedicated to nostalgia, discussing about what little they remembered of it, until a few years later it would be uploaded on YouTube. Hopefully, thanks to the splat featuring it on TV for the first time in many years, more and more people will watch Nickelodeon's very first Thanksgiving special, and see its first foray into animation years before the original Nicktoons aired. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they'll hate it, maybe they'll be indifferent of it. But just remember, partly because of this simple and humble Thanksgiving special done by a small group of dedicated artists, animators, and musicians, they were able to get to the next level of making Nickelodeon the definitive network for kids. It would influence many others to follow in its footsteps with being creative with animation. Without Nickelodeon's Thanksgiving Fest, we wouldn't have Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, SpongeBob, The Fairly Odd Parents, Invader Zim, Avatar The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, Harvey Beaks, and so much more. We wouldn't even have the cartoons that were inspired thanks to the Nicktoons. So the next time Thanksgiving comes around, and you watch one of the specials from the Nickelodeon lineup, make sure that you watch this one, and remember on what it helped create. It was a small seed that grew into a big tree of creativity, imagination, entertainment, and fond memories of the past and excitement for what the future holds.